Recording. Okay. Hello, this is Audience speaking here, and to clear some things up, no, I can't make music yet. Yes, I'm recording through my iPad, but it doesn't work. The audio converter doesn't work because apparently, you see that thing over there. That. Okay, this thing over here, right? That thing. That thing is the charger. It's completely fine. But this thing was not working. You want to know why? Because my audio converter broke for the second. For the third time, it broke. So I'm on my fourth in 2 years. And I don't think the warranty is gonna hold up. So, now that that's on the way, out of the way, you saw the title of the video. I got Shadowbanned from YouTube. Wanna know why? And wanna know how? It's a story, and you better sit down. I like to talk a lot. So, first things first, you need to understand that YouTube's algorithm mostly and does like to promote videos where they like to talk, where people like to listen, people like to kind of hear it out, watch it, click on it. The more people who click on it, the more it's promoted. The more or longer people watch it per time, the more it gets sent into the algorithm, right? And based on your subscriber count and all that, you get introduced more here, there, and yada yada. So here's the problem. There's this thing called YouTube ads, and no, it's not the one that you see in the videos. They are not promoted via the videos. They kind of promoted like at the top page of like someone's recommended feed, or kind of just at the bottom, in like the middle, and people can kind of see it. They're interested, they click on it. But no, not really. It doesn't. It does work, but here's the problem about that. I tried to use it. I got a lot of subscribers. I got a lot of views from that. But it doesn't work beyond that. You want to know why? Number one, the most important thing for your advertisements, you need to have it to be based on what you do, right? It should be for your stuff. So first things first, I put advertisements on certain songs did really well, but then when that came to it, it kind of like brought some subscribers to me, and those subscribers kind of just went around, but they didn't really come back. They didn't come back. They didn't kind of like scroll through the YouTube feed, kind of just watch it or watch my newer videos. And this is a really big problem for me, because when I look at my statistics, everything seems fine except for the amount of views I get, and a bit too high for the other statistics besides my views and my likes. My dislikes doesn't count because I don't really have the amount of views to get dislikes anyways, and I'm not cancelled or hated for too much things. Maybe that will happen, I'm not sure. I'm foreshadowing myself. But essentially, imagine this, my views, right? It's like borderline the screen, the camera, and then my retention rate is this high, and I'm not even joking about that. In one of my videos is called Nightmare Final 3 to 15. It's supposed to be the final 3 where it's like wave 11, 13, wave 11, 12, 13, and 14, right? So it's the final 3 or 4 waves before the final of tower defense, and that thing got 90%. Okay, 90% retention rate. That means that for 90% of the 4 or 5 minute song, 90% of people are watching it to the very, very end, from start to finish, and like 10 to 20 seconds in, it skyrockets to 130% minimum. And you're asking, how does that happen? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. And that is something that I'm confused about too. Because if my retention is so high, why am I getting so little views? Surely I'm getting clicks, because I look at the thing, it has 10% plus. Okay, it has more than 10% click rate. That means that 1 in 10 people click. You don't think that is a lot, but usually your video gets recommended to at least a few hundred, if not a few thousand people. One of my older videos, I'm not really sure which one, but one of my earlier videos, right, had like 40,000, but only like less than 100 views. So it's like 1%. This thing is 10%, but it's like 10 views. Of course, now it's 50, but, or even more. But some of my other songs, like HRORROR, that is below 10 views right now. I posted announcements for it. I did what I should have done to, well, post it, and it got no attention. What is it wasn't recommended to people? I don't even know what I'm doing. That's wrong. That's it's like YouTube has shadow banned me in some form of way, or maybe I shadow banned myself unwittingly using YouTube ads. And the only theories that I could come up is I was not really that popular back then. I was getting like a few views. Then after that, I started getting like 10 to 20. Then suddenly I'm getting like a few, like 100 or over. Then suddenly in January, I was getting 10,000 on Lovely Twilight. And suddenly, no more. There's no more. So I'm just confused as to why that happened. And it seriously baffles me, okay? It seriously baffles me. How on earth can something like this happen? I would understand if my algorithm sucked always, but it was blowing up back in January and December, up to even February actually. And it just and it died. And now it's still dead. It's still dead. And you wanna know what's funny? The funny part is that my Spotify is the most inconsistent thing I've ever seen. I have 2,000. Okay, because there was a botting issue, it's actually more like 1,000. In January, it dropped to 300. April, May, and June came by. I have over 2,000. And now I'm back to 900. No, I did not post anything significant, but suddenly, I became, I don't know, maybe Spotify decided to kind of just give me a lot of views, but whatever. So that's kind of like my issue with YouTube. I'm probably shadow banned, and Spotify is just Spotify, I guess. Thank you, Spotify. I didn't know I could get that. So, moving on, this the 10-minute mark. Yes, I can see the time. It is funny. So the next thing I want to speak of is Sanctus. Sanctus is one hell of a subject because I didn't even know stuff happened until recently. If you want a full context of how things happen, I'm gonna talk about it in my own POV. It might be wrong. I may have twisted it. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for the wrong things the people did though. So I'm gonna refer to people who are of an older range liking the younger range pizzas. So bear that in mind. So so you may so don't get confused when I say this pizza like a kid. This guy was a pizza or allegedly a pizza. So don't get confused. So just to begin my story, I kind of started making music for people back in November-ish last year. Sorry, August. I started like pushing myself a bit more. Of course, I did make music for games since 2023. A mod team for Minecraft, they kind of did some stuff. I don't know what I should say. They told me that their new team is confidential, but then they're still using the same team name. So I'm confused. But so that's the first thing. The second thing, I work for MIFR or MFR. It's like a meteor facility game. It's like the reactor core that you see on Roblox. People who play those games. Hello, maybe you've heard of my music, maybe you haven't. It's a date game. It never really blew up in comparison to other games, but I still made it. It's the first game that I make music for, and ironically, the first game that actually released beta that I should work for without delaying it to some delay hell or cancel fiasco. So we move on to Cut the Wire. It's my first release album on Spotify. Yeah, that's a game. They took it down like a month after it was released. And then came November and December-ish, where I started making music for a game called Bless Yourself Bleed. And that thing did really, really well. I had like, what was it, 3,000 views? I have 3,000 views on it. And it was amazing. I found that game by playing Grace, a Roblox game. I have the world record for some of the runs on mobile. I have 47 mobile world records for speedrunning on Grace, which is funny. I should stop playing that game. But anyways, so after that, they actually correlated to this. But essentially what happened was I was with this team, Bless Yourself, and through them I found Sanctus and talked to the owner, who goes by a lot of names: Compendium, Taff, Alan, and so forth. I don't know who, I don't know. And Sonnet, actually, Sonnet is the one that I'm most familiar with, so bear in mind Sonnet is the name that I'm gonna be using, referring to the Sanctus owner, as I knew them as Sonnet the longest, so just bear that in mind. So I talked to Sonnet. So they were talking about making a steampunk RPG horror game. Interesting. And kind of cool, honestly. You don't really see that kind of genre nowadays. And they were making it kind of in a fighting style of characters, mixed with really interesting styles of combat, You had blocking and all that. You had stagger attacks. Really interesting. And one thing that I note is it's it was really a good concept. I began making music probably around mid December roughly. I actually had, and the reason why I know that is because I had FL Studio, sorry, FL Mobile actually at that point. I make music on mobile, on an iPad if you haven't, um, if you don't know. So I made some songs for them in December and I started ramping my production up, like how many songs I churn out, kind of like a factory or almost a robot worth of making music. I can make songs really, really kind of quickly, kind of like one song per 30 minutes. Um, so that happened, and in January, they were really, really picking up the pace. They partnered with Forsaken, a Roblox game. I think you might know of them. Um, of course, the owner during the time would be someone who was cancelled, but they did acknowledge Sonnet. And they also, the fighting owner also acknowledged Sonnet too, or at least knew of them, and Sanctus too. So they kind of did like a shout out here and there, and eventually, Sanctus, their Discord server, had over 1,700 members, which is crazy. It's so much. You can't even comprehend. I can't even comprehend that because, it's the first real game that made progress that I felt like this is the thing. This is the thing that really could make it. But unless you know what's gonna come, you know what's gonna come. So, due to reasons, I was kicked out of Sanctus. So, I'm actually explaining how that happened. Every time I was in the server, it was mostly to talk about, well, music. Whenever I was in voice calls, I wanted to do music. Or that's usually what I want to do. Or play Grace. That's only two things that I like to do. So, it's one of those two, right? Fun fact, I joined the VCs, and the reason why I'm saying this is because it happened more than 5 times, wherein I look at the VC and they say do not join. I understand. And when I joined, they were talking about their bad problems, to say the least. They were talking about their bad problems. And when I mean bad, I mean the stuff you would do as an adult bad. Not drinking, not doing drugs. That bad kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about. If you want me to describe it, I'm not gonna describe it. But yes, it's that kind of thing. They were talking about their bad experiences with that, or being that, or not giving the person permission to do that, and they still do it anyways. So they were talking about those stuff in a developer VC. Not gonna name who, not gonna name why, not gonna say when. But that happened. Of course, I was walking back home, and yeah, I was walking back home. I could not care less what had happened in the VC, but I wanted to talk about music. Since at this point of time, Sonnet, which probably at that time would have been named TAF, so Sonnet was starting to become distant. I understand she, or they, or he, whatever the pronouns are, they were being distant to say the least. They don't reply to my messages as they used to. And bear in mind, there was offer to pay me, but I refused because, I thought that this would be a good and worthwhile investment. But it would turn out that it might have been a big mistake after all. But ignoring that. So during this time, someone by the name of Nuclear Star at the time, they might have changed their name, doesn't matter. Nuclear Star was allegedly a pizza. 16 and the alleged victim was 13. And I don't know why they kicked him out of the server. Sonnet kicked him out of the server, and basically a few days later, because Nuclear Star was kind of good developer at the time, or at least contributor to the code and whatnot, he was added back. Right. He was added back a few days later as a contributor, kind of like a ghost coder kind of thing. He just assists people, and a week later he becomes co-owner again, which basically means he got off scot-free except for a slap in the wrist. These things never saw the day of light. Not really anyways. It wasn't super heavily publicized. But I still have the copy of the document. I still have it. I'm not gonna go and share it just for the sake of it. But yes, it did happen. And the owner was 19. The Sonnet was 19, I believe, during the time. And Nuclear Star was 16. They dated, allegedly, from what I have seen and heard. They dated. If you want to call that a pizza relationship, go for it. I don't know. Apparently people were lying left, right, and center. People were canceling each other left, right, and center. So I don't even know. But at the peak of it, before I left, Forsaken Music Composers, Pressure voice actor, Genshin Impact voice actor was in the team. Some Genshin Impact voice actors. And the thing is, they were contemplating on adding Azali, the music composer, in. If you don't know, he has a few 100,000 subscribers, so it was mind-blowing. They were trying to get him in, but I was kicked out because I was rude to the music composers. You know how I said it was a steampunk horror RPG game Sonnet told me about? So eventually, 1 or 2 months later, after I started making them songs, I had 10 to 30 songs made for them. They started allowing some other music composers in, which I want to make perfectly clear, I am okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. I've collaborated with musicians, allowed them to take creative liberty with the songs and all that. Of course, they were super creative, they were super talented, but it doesn't matter what your talent is. So long as you don't put SpongeBob sound effects all over the song, it should be fine. But these people were making breakcore and all that for a game that is supposed to be steampunk. Steam itself is not electric, not in the conventional sense. It's more mechanical, it's more steam-like, so you would more or less want to have, number one, more steam instruments, which, what do you think? It's wind. First things first, you want more of wind-like instruments. Second off, you can go for string instruments because that's what you want. And you can go for piano. Piano is wood and is more or less timeless depending how you use it. It really depends on how you use it. If you're doing sci-fi, you can go electronic piano and it still would work. So it's fine. I don't mind people using drums and all that. Go for it. Go for it. And here's the problem. They were veering off the original path of the game. The music composers that went in prior were people who did only remixes. Production wise, there was no question that they were better than me in every conceivable way. They had a PC, the mixing was better, the production arrangement was better, but they didn't really have any composition, which is something that I pointed out numerous times. And I think that might have gotten in the wrong or misunderstood wrongly. And this issue, right, caused it all to eventually develop into what transpired as I was fired from Sanctus. And now, to just give you an update, Sanctus is no more. Compendium, Sonnet, Taff, or Ellen has been suspended from Twitter or X. I have no idea how they did or what they did to get their account suspended. Maybe they closed their account, maybe they didn't, but it's suspended, which is kind of crazy, not gonna lie. So I just checked it one day because I was talking to my friends about it, and I just saw it and was like, holy moly. And that's Sanctus. It's a long story, I know. But thanks for watching. I wish I had more time, but I do not. So I'll see you guys some other day, maybe tomorrow, or maybe sometime after. I'm just gonna keep on recording these videos while I wait for myself to be able to make music again. And even then, I'll probably still talk like this. I'll see how the reaction is from YouTube algorithm. If YouTube algorithm hates it, I'm probably gonna make a second channel or third channel for this, whatever it is. Anyways, peace or something like that. I don't know.